You're watching Live Now from Fox. I'm Daytona Everett. I am joined now by Maria Avdeeva. She is a resident out in Kharkiv, Ukraine right now. Maria, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you have been capturing pictures and videos from down on the ground in Kharkiv of the situation underway, of the aftermath of these battles. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, actually, I'm feeling exhausted and angry at the same time. So we were there today at this scene that you have probably saw where there is the destroyed Russian military vehicles because of the street fights yesterday on the street. So yesterday day was really hard for Kharkiv because Russian troops on light military vehicles tried to get to the city center, and they were destroyed after by Ukrainian military and territorial defense units. So they were attacking from the three sides, and some of them actually managed to get pretty close to the city center. So after the vehicles were destroyed, then there were the city fights, street fights going, because the Ukrainian military were going after those who actually escaped from the vehicles and were hiding in houses. And there was a group that hid in the school near where we were actually near these destroyed vehicles. So there were locals there, and we were able to speak to them and to listen what happened actually yesterday on the ground. And what they said is that they are really angry that Putin keeps sending young boys here, and they do not even know why are they here, because they are not ready to fight. They are surrendered. They are putting down their weapons. They abandoned their vehicles because they do not know what are they fighting for. Because Ukrainians now have a really great morale and the readiness and the resistance, because they are protecting their homes, their loved ones, their families, and everything what matters. And Russian soldiers, they tell that they were brought here by their commanders, saying that that is some kind of training and they would be welcomed here. And now when they see this fiery resistance, they're really afraid and they're scary, because they're just young conscripts brought here by their commanders and by Putin himself. So actually what is happening right now in the city, we have a curfew starting from 6 or even no, today it started at 3 p.m. till 6 a.m. next morning. So you're not allowed to be outside, because the special services and territorial defense units search the city if there are any kind of saboteurs or Russian military groups trying to break in. Everything is closed, no lights at all, so that the Russia airplanes wouldn't be able to strike the targets, because the city is completely dark. And it is a great big city, so it's 1.5 million city. So it's really hard now to be here. But on the other hand, it is our home, and we are doing everything we can to defend it.
Maria, I want to circle back to one of the statements you just made. You're saying some Russian forces are laying down their weapons and surrendering right now.
Yes, that's true. And we have many videos of these captives speaking on the camera. And today we had a striking photo from one of the phones of these soldiers when he was, messaging with his mom, and his mom asked him if he was in Crimea, actually, where the Russia started this training exercises, ending up in Ukrainian territory. And he said, "No, mom, I am not in Crimea. I am in Ukraine, and I am really afraid, because they Ukrainians," so he says, "they do not want to see us here, and we are not welcomed here." So apparently Russian propaganda worked so hard on them that they probably really believed that they have to save Ukraine from some Nazis, or they are welcome here, or probably they were thinking that they would realize here some kind of Crimea scenario when there was no major fighting at that time. But now what they see here is completely different, and they see, anger in the eyes of Ukrainians fighting with them, and in the eyes of civilians as well.
Right. The resiliency from an outside perspective, from what we're seeing in the United States of the Ukrainian forces, is unbelievable and substantial for the size of Ukraine versus the size of the Russian military. What else do you have to say about that?
Well, it's because we are defending our what is important for us. It's because Ukraine never threatened Russia. All what Ukraine wanted is to be part of the free and democratic world. That's all. And now you see that that is what bothers Putin. That is why he hates Ukraine and everything Ukrainian and wants to destroy our country, because he doesn't want to see a democracy near him. He wants, to be all countries like back to the USSR, which about what he refers all the time. And now, Putin, his nuclear weapons on high alert. What is he going to do actually? It looks like he himself is frightened, because the Russian economy is declining now in a very high speed because of the sanctions put on Russia. Russia has protests inside the country, and they are growing because Russians do not understand also why he waged this war against Ukraine. And also he sees the unity among the partners and among the NATO member states, which are very firm here and which support Ukraine. So probably what he sees now, he is not really what he was waiting for. He said previously that he would, capture Kyiv and get control over Kyiv in 2 hours if he would want so. But now it's already 4 full days, and still Russian troops didn't manage to get control over any Ukrainian big city.
Right. Well, Maria, you've been doing your own fighting against disinformation from Russia. If you could, I don't want to get too into the weeds about this because we could go on forever, but explain the situation underway, the what some are calling propaganda that is being translated to all of the Russian people versus what is being reported in Ukraine as to why this invasion is happening. If you could step into that for a moment, you've done a lot of research on this.
Yeah, so Russia actually started to do that 2 months ago, and their goal was to present Ukraine and our partners, especially the United States, as aggressors. So you wouldn't believe the lies they were spreading in their social networks and on the state media. So they were actually saying literally that United States are supplying chemical weapons to Ukraine, and Ukraine is preparing to use that chemical weapons to attack Donbass at some point. So they were actually preparing, some kind of false flag operation, and then speaking about genocide of Ukraine towards Donbass. That was complete false lies, and it was clearly so very quickly debunked. So preparing that kind of ground for a false flag operation and that kind of disinformation messages, Putin then stated that he now needs to defend Ukraine because of the Nazi government that is preparing some kind of attack on its own citizens. And what he says now is he has introduced military censorship, and they do not say any numbers of losses to the population in Russia. They hide that. They try to cover that up. So for now, the numbers that Ukraine gives are more than 4,000 Russian soldiers already dead in this war. And the Russian MOD said there are no losses at all. And they do not report any losses in vehicles and military equipment, in nothing. So they try to make it look like they're still winning and they do not have any losses. And you know what else? Today, the representative of Russia to the UN, Nebenzia, he has said that they do not attack civilians in Ukraine. We have today 11 people dead after the Grad missile system attack here in Kharkiv, among which children. So what kind of nonsense is that? So that is complete lies, and they are already not even trying to make it real. So it's like something you would think about, Goebbels and Hitler's propaganda in 1939, speaking about the necessity, to destroy Jews.
Maria, last question for you. What is your message to the rest of the world that's watching right now from the Ukrainian people?
We thank you very much for the support that we now feel from all over the world, and we need much more of that support. We need more weapons, more defensive weapons. We need the sky above Ukraine to be closed so that Russia cannot use their airplanes to bombard our cities. And we also need as much unity as possible to stop Russian aggression, because Putin is not going only after Ukraine, he is going after all the democratic countries.
Maria, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. We are thinking about you, and please stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.